Hi everyone, Stars Every Day here. I just watched a video from Rose's Universe, a channel that does Steven Universe theories, and I've been kicking around the idea of a theory video of my own for a while. I think since like 2013 or so when I started watching My Little Pony Friendship is Magic reaction theory videos. So between Steven Universe and Samurai Jack both being a decent way into their runs, I know I'm entering into doing this a little bit late, but I just have a lot of inspiration for it, so here goes. The specific Rose's Universe video that I watched is called Steven Universe Theory, What Was Rose Doing in the Desert? And I wanted to react and expand on the ideas in that with a few of the ideas that I have. That video makes mention of the leaked episode Lion 4 alternate ending, which hasn't officially aired yet, so if you haven't seen that episode and don't want to be spoiled, this is your warning! Spoiler warning for that episode, Lion 4 alternate ending. Click off now if you don't want to be spoiled for that, because I'm going to kind of talk about it a bit. Okay, you've been warned, getting right into it. In Lion 4 alternate ending, Lion had to run like a really long way to get to the like temple ship thing where Rose kept all of her junk. It's fairly obvious that none of the other crystal gems, at least not any of the surviving ones, knew about this location. Unlike Pink Diamond's palanquin, which had a fence and sign to keep humans out, there wasn't any sign of Pearl trying to keep humans away from what we now supposed to be Pink Diamond's ship. And this could indicate that Pearl didn't know about it, which would kind of mean that nobody else would really know about it, because Pearl always goes on and on about how Rose confided in her about things she didn't confide in other people. So it's like, oh, okay. But you might be like, oh, well, Pearl didn't put anything up to prevent humans from getting to the desert glass either. Sure, Buddy said in his book, in the episode Buddy's book, that's the sentence. Anyway, he said that Pearl marked off all the places he shouldn't go to, which included the general area of the sandcastle. So, well, what about that? Well, actually, by Garnet's description of the desert glass having turned aimless, it is implied that it used to be perfectly stable. In the episode Buddy's book, the part with the sandcastle in it, it didn't seem to have any indication that it was unstable, really, just that it liked to move. Even though the visuals of the narrative were supplied by Stephen and Connie imagining it, I feel pretty confident that if the sandcastle was like a total wreck like it was in the episode Stephen's Lion, that Buddy would have noted that in his notes, and that would have come up in Buddy's book. So from what we know of structures that are spawned by gems, there wouldn't have been any reason for the desert glass to have been considered dangerous if it was still, making the sandcastle. Even if it moved around sometimes, it wouldn't have been really like a problem. Also, that there's also the fact that there actually could have been a fence further away that would have prevented the humans from entering that part of the desert, or even the whole thing. So we can't actually confirm or deny about there being a fence or a lack of a fence in that part of the narrative, so any part of the narrative surrounding the desert at all, actually. But regardless of fences, what makes me really be sure that Pearl didn't know about Pink Diamond's ship being there was the fact that in episode 28, Space Race, she didn't go over there to get anything to use in making her spaceship. I mean, like, she had like a keyboard in that thing. I highly doubt she had any gem technology, so that makes me think she definitely didn't know about the ship. And that makes me think that Rose probably hid the existence of the Pink Diamond ship, or what we're currently thinking is Pink Diamond ship, the legs thing. She probably hid that from her comrades so that nobody would be able to use it. Like, she probably hypothesized that there could be like a future radical, like Bismuth, or any gem she might be able to heal from corruption eventually, who might want to use that ship to go off-world. And that could create a situation that might even bring about Homeworld's return to Earth, such as what happened with Lapis Lazuli's story arc. Anyway, getting back to the desert glass, I had a point I was trying to get to. It's actually a very important part of the narrative, because Stephen had a chance to remove the desert glass from the pill it was contained in, but he didn't. And his treatment of the desert glass, his willingness not to question it, easily could have been the reason that Pearl thought it was okay for him to use the mirror that Lapis was embedded in, which wound up leading to Lapis being released, pulling the plot thread that led to Peridot and Jasper and all the other Homeworld-related things that we've seen in the series. Well, that was all the stuff I had to say about Desert Glass. I had a few ideas about Lion, too. Not Lion 2, not Lion 2 straight to video, Lion in general. There's a lot of theories circulating about Lion right now. The two most popular are that he's a mix of one of Rose's lions mentioned in Buddy's book with some part of her that isn't part of Steven. And the second theory is that he's a mix of one of Rose's lions with one or multiple of Pink Diamond's shards. And then actually, like, there's either one of those theories, but with Pink Pearl instead of Pink Diamond, are also pretty popular. I think any of those could be possible, but I also have a few other thoughts on the topic. I think it's definitely possible that Lion could be a mixture of one of Rose's lions from Buddy's book and maybe the dust of Pink Diamond shards, which could account for why we haven't seen Lion with a gemstone or a shard embedded in him. I watched a theory on gem shard dust sentence before, and I'm really sorry, but I can't remember who made that theory. If anybody remembers, please comment it so I can fix that. Anyway, about the dust thing I'm getting into, I didn't make that up, by the way. Anyway, the dust would be like the tiny shards in the pigment in the scroll in the episode Together Breakfast. Even the design painted on it it manifested onto it of the errant arms and hands and the eye are all reminiscent of the forms that the shards took when they took their forms and of the gem shard fusion experiments. So the entity or entities from the scroll even actually proved to be gem shard related when they were released and took control of Steven's Together Breakfast. So that means that I think that dust could be sort of like a thing that we haven't gotten into yet, but was foreshadowed or introduced all the way back then in Together Breakfast. Like, what if a similar form of gem existence was inhaled or even eaten by a lion? Like, probably that would result in something like Steven's lion, right? It could have even happened by accident, maybe, if Pink Diamond or Pink Diamond's pearl was shattered into dust, or fragments with some of it being dust. The reason I say or Pink Pearl is because I think our pearl is either a former white pearl, or at least just not Pink Pearl, just like a different pearl. Or alternatively, it could have been like in the YouTuber Rose's universe, like how she proposed it to be in her video, that rose quartz might have done experiments in the desert. Our view of rose quartz has changed a lot since the start of the show, starting off as like an angelic one, but becoming more and more morally ambiguous as the show's continued. I'm honestly not sure if, knowing about Garnet and experiencing fusion with her friends, Rose would force any gem, shard or not, to fuse with Lion against their will. I mean, it's not impossible she could have developed a machine that would be capable of it, but from what we know of her, we've seen her more focused on nature than technology. Like, sure, she had laser light cannons, but I think those were probably made by bismuth, just the same as her sword. An important question might be, when did Homeworld plant the gem shard fusion experiments and the cluster? Because those things seem to have happened when Homeworld gave up on Earth, but what if that happened like near the end of the war, before the corruption happened? And like, what if Rose knew they were doing, like, if knew Homeworld was doing something like the fusion experiments, even if she didn't know where they were, what it was like specifically? There's also that theory, I don't know where this one came from either, please comment if you know, that theory that the small irregular gems in Rose's moss are like the shards of Pink Diamond. But yeah, would you think she'd really be able to do that, like emotionally speaking? But from what we've seen, the fragmented gems, like the shards, they're pretty desperate to have a form, to have a body, to have an identity again. And I think that maybe Rose might have found one that could have been like okay with doing that, like not like consciously consented, but on like a more base level, just sort of been okay with becoming part of Lion or something, or like a plant, like the moss flower theory. It sounds a little bit far-fetched, but I mean, Lion is pink. It's even stated that the reason he's pink is because he has something to do with Rose. And Garnet, the one with future vision, says, it was a little obvious that, that's why he's pink. So anyway, what do you all think about that? Let me know in the comments. This has been a little rambly, but that's because it's my first theory video, so it kind of has like 5 different theories and no organization, and this is what it is. Hi! Anyway, shout out to Rose's Universe and the Roundtable and Cartoon Universe. I've been following them for a while and they're all pretty awesome. So anyway, goodbye!